Saturday, November 26th, 2016, and that by itself sort of makes history today. The Prattlecast being recorded on a Saturday for the very first time ever. My name is Razzle _ Dazzles, and I'm joined by Shakezilla TV. I hope I got that right. Oh, it's episode 39, by the way. Episode 39 of the Prattlecast.
I don't go by Shakezilla anymore.
You don't?
No, it's a code name now. I can't tell you what my name is.
What?
Yeah, it's new. I like how you added your underscore, though.
Yeah,
I'd prefer you never did it again.
I don't really care to do it.
Okay, it just makes you seem less human. Like, it makes you...
I am _074.
Yeah, because when you just say Razzle Dazzles, it's got, like, a flair to it, you know? It
I'm
sounds
Razzle
nice.
_Dazzles 2001.
Yeah, like XXX357. You got real there. I've got news for you that I know everybody cares about.
Well, I wonder if this is the news that I have.
Now, I'm just telling you, you are going to be so excited.
Oh, then this is definitely not the news that I have.
No Man's Sky has an update.
Oh, I heard this. I heard they were working on it.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be released sometime this week. Yeah? It's going to be called the Foundation Update because it's going to bring the foundations of the game together.
You know, usually they put down a foundation before they build, but...
I'm just saying this is why you should care about it, because they're going to give us a video game.
Oh, they're going to bring a video game?
Well, I don't know. I doubt it.
I mean, you know, they said they were going to bring a video game once before, and, well...
Well, they said it's the first step in a long journey, and they hope that you go on it with them as they do. So really what we're doing is we're going to go on that journey of them making a video game. But they don't want to tell us that. They're still very much in denial.
Yeah, it's sort of like surprise. You bought a $60 early access game. Now we're going to start actually building it.
That's all it was. It's like, oh, your foundation update? Okay, thanks.
Yeah, foundation.
I'm very excited for your foundation update. But I knew no one was going to care about that. I thought it was funny. Because they're going on a journey, and we need to go on that ride with them because they're making a game, and we need to be there for their process.
Oh, we'll be there.
I mean, I'll be there, but I'm not playing it. I'm not buying it. There's never going to be a time when I do. If it's like ever $1, I'll buy the game.
I mean, if it's ever on PlayStation Plus.
Oh yeah, that too.
You know.
Yeah, if it's free, in any regard, I'll buy your game.
Yeah, because you know I was playing the Tomorrow Children the other day. That was a PS Plus, or I guess I don't know if it's a PS Plus game, but it was free.
You had stated earlier in conversations, I don't know if on the podcast or not, that was a game you were excited for.
The Tomorrow Children?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
that's
but
right.
How do you feel about it now?
You know, I enjoyed my small amount of time with it. It does have a lot of issues, but for a free game, I'm not going to complain. I mean, for a free game, it's actually very nice looking, and it's a really cool little concept and an idea. It's more of a game than No Man's Sky, and it's $60 cheaper. So I'm not going to complain about it. Like a game like that, no, I'm not going to complain about it.
I think whenever No Man's Sky comes to any kind of free area for us, we should play it and then complain about every update made to the game.
Yeah, we will.
Something needs to be wrong with everything that they do, because that's a journey that I can't believe that they are expecting people to take with them.
But you know, but trying to be fair here, you know, it's good that they're trying to fix the problem. You know, it's not like
but
after hiding from it for so long,
you got people like crazy about your game, and then lost 80% of the players within the first couple weeks of the game coming out.
I mean, there was that whole thing where the founder guy made that tweet that they later said was a hacker, but then there are all these questionable things about it, including emails that were sent out. So
questionable emails?
Yeah, well, apparently he put some tweet out there, and I don't remember what the tweet said. It was something like, No Man's Sky was a mistake. and then it got deleted, and then they all claimed it was a hacker.
I don't think that
But
was a hacker.
well, here's the thing: a lot of like
Uh,
people were emailing them, like news places. I use quote unquote news places. These are places like gamewhatever.com, and they were all asking about it. And one of the emails said, "Yeah, that was me." And then they later went back on this and said, "No, that wasn't him. His email, his Twitter was hacked." But the weirdest thing about the whole thing is that after this, the official No Man's Sky Twitter tweeted to the founder's Twitter saying, "Hey, did you fix that whole hacker situation?" And then he tweeted back, "Yeah, we're all good now."
what?
And
That seems like a very unprofessional way to. They need to have like a long sit down and
well,
have.
I mean,
They need
that
like a
that
PR team.
well, it's that's what made the whole thing questionable, and it's why people were talking about it. It was because that's not how you handle a hacker situation. You don't tweet to the guy and then tweet. And this is a guy who never tweets, by the way. So, and in fact, the No Man's Sky Twitter was just, silent. It didn't do anything for like probably a month. And then they tweeted him, "Hey, did you fix that?" I don't remember the exact wording, but the basic gist of it was, "Hey, did you fix that whole hacker situation?"
See, to
So,
me, that either seems like you have like this weird blatant hacker,
no, what it seems
or
to me
or
is,
it's just like a gross amount of effort to try to cover up the fact that it wasn't a hacker at all.
yeah, I mean, and that's
Like
probably what it
that's
was,
I
but
that
I
that's
don't.
how it feels. Like if these accounts are both never used, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, hello, did you fix that problem that we had that we shouldn't really be discussing here on this public forum?" Yeah, that problem is solved. Thank you for coming to me about it. Like there's a different way to handle that.
I'm not going to say that this was a whole lie because I don't know, and I'm not going to slander people, but I do
I'll
know,
slander people. I'll do it for you. It's
but I
bullshit.
do know, but I do know that when people are usually caught in lies, they usually go out of their way to try to prove that they're not lying. And this just to me, this is not the behavior of people that, if this actually happened, I don't see how this was the forum to do it. I don't know, but
Yeah,
what the
no, like
fuck?
I mean, I guess if it was me and I actually had a problem like that, and like, where someone hacked into my account, first of all, I think they would have done a lot more than just say that making a game was a mistake. I feel like they would have dug a little deeper and done more with their hacking skills than that. But like, if it did happen to me, I would have like immediately gone and shut everything down and like would have released something somewhere where everybody could read it saying that like we were going through this issue and that we're trying to get it resolved as quickly as possible. Because I can't believe a hacker would only send one thing and then walk away.
Yeah,
That,
but
that's that,
that's all
that's
I
not
know
what they
about it.
do.
That it's not even really a. We don't have anything on it. It's just that that's happened a while back, and
And I don't like them. I don't trust them.
I don't
I don't
trust them
I
either.
don't
But
trust them.
I'm a little bit happy that they are trying to at least fix the problem. Let's see what happens. Let's see if they do fix the game and try to make it more of a game.
They're
Doesn't change
fixing
the
what they
shady
thought was a
shit,
mistake. That's what they're
but
doing.
let's see what happens. So.
What's your news?
Oh, well, where one journey begins, another one ends. And this is actually very sad news today from the world of entertainment. Uh,
Oh, okay, I'm ready.
all right. Well, I have some very, very bad news for those out there who were big time fans of the old show, uh, sorry, Firefly.
Oh, I
Actor Ron Glass passed away, who played Shepard Book, he was a total class act too. I met the guy once in Atlanta, and just an absolute gentleman. One of my favorite characters. In fact, probably my favorite character out of that show was Shepard Book. Just such a fantastic performance for the ages.
I did not know he passed away.
Well, it just happened today. In fact, I found out about about an hour before we started the cast here, and I was looking for something to talk about. I read this, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm I'm not gonna look on here anymore. Um, but yeah, so that and also Fidel Castro died.
So
You know, the
did like Fidel. You went from
like the
Ron Glass to Fidel
I
Castro.
know, like the man who would never die, Fidel Castro,
Well, I mean, it
has
happens
died.
in 3 because we lost Florence Henderson too.
Well, I mean, I don't really know if we should count Fidel Castro in that three, but but yes, Florence Henderson did die, Mrs.
Yeah,
Brady.
that hurt me deep.
Yeah.
Like that hit me right in my feelings. I mean, yeah, like I liked Shepard, but I was like, there was like a series of comics I was told I was supposed to read that were going to tell me more about Shepard's backstory that I never got around to because I was always
Hmm.
confused as to who Shepard actually was because like I felt like there was a lot more to him that I never was gonna learn about and I never did.
Sure.
But he didn't seem if I'm like imagining him in my head correctly because I only ever watched Firefly once and I'll never watch it again. But that's just because I refuse to be traumatized like that ever again in my life. That wasn't fair. If you haven't seen it, just go watch it. You'll never watch it again. It's worth it though. It's a good show. You can't watch it twice, and if you can, I just think you have no soul. There's something wrong with you. He didn't. Was like, how old was he? Like, what happened?
I think he was about 71, if I
Oh, well,
remember, if I read it correctly.
I guess he was older than I like thought in my head. I guess he was older.
Yeah, he was an older guy, but still somewhat young, I believe.
Did Fidel Castro just go yelling and screaming?
Hopefully.
Was he just like,
I mean,
no, I'm not ready. Don't.
he's not ready.
They're like injecting him with a serum. They're like, sorry, Fidel, we have to bring this to an end. We can't
You
do
know,
this anymore.
I just don't have anything positive to say about him, and I'll just leave it at that. So,
Well,
Fidel Castro.
damn. That was
But
news.
but yeah, Ron Glass though, I met him in Atlanta at Dragon Con one year. I remember shaking his hand, and I was just excited to meet him because, like I said, huge Firefly fan, huge Shepherd book fan, and I loved his performance in that show. It brought a great deal of balance. It also helped with the development of Mal's character. So, yeah, he's gone.
So you didn't have a bad celebrity experience with him?
God, no, no, no. Ron Glass was great. He was great. No bad experience there.
Well, damn. That was sad news to bring to the table.
Yeah, it was.
There's no good way for me to walk away from that now.
So now let's transition, guys.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. Like you just shit on my parade. Like
Well,
now
I'll tell
now
you
it's
what we
just
can talk
sad.
about.
Okay.
I was going to ask you about Mafia too because we haven't talked
Oh, I've
about it.
had that in my brain for a while now and
Just stewing
nowhere
around.
to nowhere to release my pain.
Yeah.
Um, oh my God. Okay. I'm sad now and I gotta get excited again. Okay, this is weird. I'm gonna do this.
I'm going to
Okay.
do this every week. I'm just going to bring sad
Yeah,
news to
just
just
bring
throw you
sad
off your
news to
game.
like make me feel like shit. Like that's fine. Like, hi, this is the Prattlecast. Are you ready to just hate your life? We're gonna bring you some shitty news. You ready?
Here we go.
Um, okay. So like after playing Mafia 2, I like I agree with everything everyone ever said about the first game. Like I could never play the first game ever again.
Nope.
It is not humanly possible. So I am blessed that I am like a person who is kind of OCD about how I play games and that I played them in order because if I didn't, the first game would have never happened. I would have turned it on and been like, nope, not doing it.
No. Yeah,
Um,
first one's pretty bad.
it is a train wreck in
Control.
comparison.
Now,
Yeah.
when it came out, it was still amazing. I will
Yeah.
say that it
I mean,
was.
I can see it then. I mean, 2002. I get it. But there, yeah, the second game, like the main guy, I think my name was Vito. I feel
Yes,
like I want to
Vito.
say Vito. Vito, I feel like I should be like just really fat with a name like that. I just feel like that's should be, but I'm
Well,
not.
I always think of Vito Corleone from Godfather when I hear Gut
Yeah,
Vito.
yeah, I just think fat. I don't.
Okay.
It's just a fat name to me. But I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm like a war hero because the game kind of starts you off in like the middle of a war, which does not ruin any story for anybody. It's just like a way to train you
Oh, we're gonna
in the
ruin the
controls.
story today. So
Oh,
if you haven't
okay.
played it, we're talking about the whole fucking thing.
Okay,
So
good, because I
yeah.
need to talk about the ending because I am bullshit. Um, but like you start off in war, like that's just how the game begins, and that's how you learn how to play. And I was like, I was freaking out because I could shoot people without making like a really conscious effort to try to like find out how to position my shit correctly. Like I could kill people easily, like I could go into cover, go out of cover, like, and it's no question that the graphics are 5 million times better. So I was really happy from the get go. And then the moment you get in a car and they're playing all this wonderful music, which
Mm-hmm.
by the way I would like to add, I am yet again irritated that Twitch feels the need to mute streams with music that is in the actual game you're fucking playing. Don't do that.
Yeah, you'd think they would have like an algorithm for
Yeah, and
games
then
where it shows what
when
they're.
when you go to Twitch and be like, I need you to unmute this because it's music in the fucking game, they'll take care of it. But I hope you're ready to wait a year because that's about how long it's gonna take.
Yeah, I remember they muted there was a part in Red Dead Redemption they muted because of audio, and it sucked because it was a great thing to highlight, but I couldn't do it because they had muted it. And yeah.
Yeah, they had muted half of our Star Wars streams too, and I'm like, okay, it is a Star Wars game with Star Wars music. Why you do this, Twitch? Why don't you like me?
Now they've
So
gotten better because it used to be because they used to have these huge chunks of like 30 minutes because their
yeah,
videos were broken up into 30-minute segments. And so if you had anything in that 30-minute time frame that was music that was copyright written, then they would go in and just take out the whole 30 minutes of audio. But now they finally have something to go in there and just take out like 5 minutes or so or however long the song is so that it's usually only about 30 seconds after the song ends so the audio will come back. So that is good news.
yeah,
But
they're
because the way it used to be was just ridiculous.
Oh no, it was because I had lost like whole videos. There had been stuff that like you and I would do or that I'd be doing with people I was playing games with, and I couldn't. Like I couldn't use anything because like there'd be something playing from the game, and I couldn't do it. And I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, okay, thanks Twitch. So it's better now, but anyway, Twitch muted a bunch of stuff still. So if you ever want to go back and watch them, there will be parts that you can't hear a damn thing. I was especially frustrated with the fact that they decided to mute the one of my favorite scenes in the entire game, which was when you are driving a drunk Joe and what's his name? It wasn't Henry. It was but the other guy you become friends with. I can't remember his name. You start working with him and he's like, "Oh, I can't get too drunk. I have something to take care of tonight." I can't remember his goddamn name.
Well, it doesn't matter. We'll
Yeah, he
keep going.
doesn't matter. Henry matters. Um, but like you're trying to drive them out of this. You leave this cat house and they're both shit faced drunk, and you get in the car because you got to bring them home, and you have to wait like a solid 45 seconds for them to get into the car because they are being so realistically shit faced that they just can't find their way around life. And then Dean Martin comes on and they both lose their minds and they sing the entire song, which Twitch muted, so you'll never get to hear it. Um, I don't know how they like caught it underneath the drunk ramblings, and like they were changing the name of the woman in the song to like their own women in their life and lamenting. And then I remember there was just one point where he tells me to pull over because he's got to vomit, and I wasn't sure he was serious, so I was like, "Oh, that's funny." And I was like, "Oh, let's just stop the car for a second." And he gets out and throws up everywhere, and gets back in the car. And then I end up having to do his work for him. Like he needed some body buried that had been in the trunk of the car for like 4 weeks. And he's like, "Oh, it's just been in there a couple weeks. It's fine. It's whatever. It'll be okay." So I had to do everything for everybody. And that was one of my favorite missions to do in the entire game. I also especially loved the one that starts with Joe's little stupid friend Marty, who I never understood why Marty was brought along on any missions. He was like this kid that really wanted to be in the mob, but you knew he was too stupid to ever actually be in the mob. But they somehow allowed him to exist in the universe. So he gets himself killed, and then Joe just can't handle it and ends up just killing this random bar owner, so I had to tote him around. That was fun. That was like the only time I really disliked Joe. Because I always thought Joe was kind of crazy, and I'm like, oh, Joe, you're stupid. Like, he's just my dumb friend. But that was the only mission that I really had, like, an issue with him. I was like, you're being a bit much. You need to calm down. Like, you have
I
a
think
risky job.
the more memorable part of part 2 for me was when you get that mission, you go to kill Tommy.
I wasn't done telling you my memorable moments.
Well, I'm just trying to add some information.
Oh.
I can have. This is a podcast where we go back and forth. It's good to meet you.
That's fine. You may speak.
Okay. But no, I was just going to go into that one because it's definitely one of the most memorable scenes in the entire game, where you get the red car and you go out there. The only thing that I was really disappointed in is that they don't put you in the suits. Joe in the brown suit and Vito in the blue suit. But you can buy a blue suit for Vito, but you can't put Joe in a brown suit. So it's like,
Joe's in Hawaiian, no matter what you do. But I was really surprised by that mission because I wasn't aware at first. Like when we get in, you get in the red car, it didn't click for me yet. And
even
then,
with the radio?
Well, that music comes on randomly.
Yeah.
Sometimes, so I always just think it's like a kick in the teeth every time so I just instantly would change it constantly. So I didn't think about it. So we're in the car driving, and then it clicked with me when Joe's like, "This is what we have to say to him. We're helping out some friends. We have this that we got to say. Can you remember it?" And I'm like, "Wait a minute, what are we doing here? Like what?" And then we pull up, and I see him, and I'm like, "Oh, we're doing it." And I was disappointed by the Hawaiian shirts and our outfits. I was like, oh, we really should have been better dressed for the occasion.
Yeah.
But I was impressed with it. I was like, oh, that's an interesting little callback. Probably the only one they could ever do. And I was happy with it. I just wasn't happy with our outfits. I was like, somebody should have told me before I started this so I could have at least looked a little better. Because I think I was wearing like a jean jacket. Like, it almost felt like the time in the game when I was, like, just running around in my underwear through the city because those assholes burned my house down. And I didn't have the patience to fight them, so I just ran around in my underwear, showed up at Joe's house in my underwear. I was like, hi, this is my life.
I think it's a really cool idea to have the new protagonist kill the old protagonist of the series. I don't know a lot of games that do that.
Well, if only Tommy was a protagonist.
Hmm?
If only Tommy was a protagonist.
Well, he was a protagonist. I mean, protagonist doesn't mean you're a good guy or a bad guy. It just means that you're basically the one who has all the things happening, and you're sort of the center of the story in that way.
I didn't like him.
Well, I don't think anybody likes Tommy. But
you know what? I felt kind of happy knowing that I got to kill him later on. I was like, this feels good. I was also really disappointed when I found out that Henry was a rat.
Yeah.
That really upset me because I loved him. Like, I got really attached to him. And I was like, ah.
I think that was the smart thing about it, was you're supposed to feel like you're betrayed by someone who you genuinely like, because it happens in the Mafia.
Well, yeah, but I wasn't prepared for Henry. I mean, and then I think the worst part of it for me was like, because you don't even find out that he betrayed you till like a little while later. I think it's like a mission or two later where they tell you that. I think it's actually in the last mission or two that they tell you he was a rat, and you're like, what? What the hell are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, now you've got the FBI on us, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a while, but all you see is like I don't know how to say this the right way. I'm just going to say Chinese people. These Chinese people, like, hacking him up with butcher knives in the middle of a park. and I was so traumatized. And I was like, I was just sitting with my mouth open. I was like, oh my fucking God. And I thought I could save him. Like, I'm frantically, like, mowing these people down with a Tommy gun, desperately trying to save his life. And I'm like, no, we lost Henry. This is the worst thing that could ever happen to me. But I was wrong, because worse things happened to me later. Oh, I wish it was a laughing matter. So, when, what's the name of the old guy you meet in prison?
It's been a while since I played. I think it was Lou or something like that.
I love him. And everybody kind of finds out that you were, like, involved in all this bullshit, and everybody kind of wants you dead. So, the guy that you work for, I guess, needs to be gotten rid of, so he tells you he can kind of get you out of this whole mess as long as you kill him. So you have to go to where this guy is obviously taking you to kill you, and kill him instead. So the final showdown in the game is a lot like the final showdown in the first game. They kind of kept that very same formula. They did not really veer from it at all or try to do anything different there, which I was disappointed with. But, like, fighting through the building was a lot more fun. It wasn't as frustrating. I didn't feel like I was going to die at every corner. But when you get to the final room and he's standing there and all that, and you see Joe, like, point the gun to the side of your head, I had this panic attack because I had just found out that Henry had betrayed me, and I couldn't handle the fact that, like, I didn't even question it. Like, I totally thought that Joe had just turned on me. Like, I did not think, like, our friendship mattered, that we had known each other since we were kids. I was like, Henry did it to me, so now Joe's doing it to me. I can't. And I was like, okay, I have to kill Joe. Like, I can't do this. I can't kill Joe. And I was freaking out. And then he just starts whispering. He's like, we're gonna waste this guy, Vito. And I was like, okay, I love you. I love you, Joe. And I'm trying to, like, convince myself that I believed him the whole time. I was like, I believed in you. Like, it's okay, Joe. I was ready. But I wasn't, because I thought he was gonna kill me. And that last fight was actually, like, the hardest part of the game for me. Because the cover system was so fucked up. Yeah, like, I had a really hard time with that. But it was good. I don't really want to talk about what happens after.
But yeah, I mean, Mafia 2 was and still is really the best in that type of that series in particular. It's definitely the most story heavy. It's got more twists and turns in it. It's got there's a lot of emotional depth to it that I think the others probably don't have. So, yeah.
It's a lot more fun too. Like, I really cared about the people in the game. Like, I had fun just doing, like, the stupid stuff with them. It was a lot of fun. I was so angry with how it ended. I feel like they don't know how to end their games.
You know, that's probably true. That's probably
because,
true.
You know, you leave with the old guy whose name I can't recall, and they're all like, oh yeah, let's go. And then, you know, they're like, oh, Vito, get in this car with me. And Joe's like, oh, I'll see you when I get there. And the moment they separated me from Joe, I went into a panic again. I'm surprised I didn't have a fucking heart attack by the end of this game, because I was like, I don't want to leave Joe. Like, me and Joe are a package deal. We ride in the same car. Like, that's my person. Let me stay with my person. And then, like, we're driving along, and I think Joe's car was in front, and Joe's car takes a turn down a street. Mm-hmm. And Vito's like, what's going on? And then he's like, oh, he wasn't part of the deal. And then everything goes to black. So you know that they killed Joe. Like, Joe's gone. Like, that's it. There's no closure. And then I waited for the credits to roll, because I was like, okay, give me something. Don't do this to me. But that's what they did to me. They did me dirty. They did me dirty. They just killed my best friend after all the panic I went through. And, like, I guess I get it. Like, it makes sense that that's what would happen. That is the mob. That is how things go. But I feel like I did all this work to, like, get up there in the world, and I lost everything that mattered.
Well, there's a bit more clarity about things in part 3 about part 2. So,
What do you mean?
I mean, there's more clarity.
What do I find out what happened to Joe?
I just mean there's more clarity, Shake.
God, I don't want to play the third one.
You have to, though. You have to play the third one.
I know.
Especially if you want to know about clarity of part 2.
See, you're saying clarity, and I think clarity is code for Joe.
See, I don't know what clarity is code for, other than to say
I was just pointing
that...
my finger at you because I'm just so like, ooh, clarity.
So have you started part 3?
No.
When are you starting part 3?
Well, I just got a streaming schedule down, which is a fucking miracle. Like, I just got my shit together in life. I hope. So that'll start Monday morning.
Okay, so you're going to learn a little bit more about part 3.
Yeah, I'll probably be starting with the Batman episode that everyone's complaining about. And then, I'll be starting Mafia 3. Now, can I ask a question?
No. But yes, you can, but no.
How dare you? This is a podcast. How dare you?
Don't talk on our podcast.
This is a free space and a safe space for me to speak. This is my safe space.
All right, go right ahead.
As a millennial, this is what I need, okay? Do I find out what happened to Joe within like the first 30 minutes?
Your question is specifically, do you find out what happened to Joe within the first 30 minutes of Mafia 3?
First hour.
Now, my answer to that is to say this. I am not saying you're going to learn anything about Joe in this game, but I can definitely answer for you that you will not find out anything about Joe within the first 30 minutes of Mafia 3.
Oh, you are a son of a bitch and you're doing me dirty.
Well, you got to play the game.
Does Vito have an appearance?
You know what, Shake? That's a very interesting question.
This is a lot of interesting thoughts I seem to be having.
And actually, I can go ahead and tell you that Vito does make an appearance because everybody knew that going into the game.
See, I wouldn't, just because I didn't play them. But that's exciting. I hope I still look good. I hope I aged well. I probably didn't.
There's only one way to find out.
Yeah, he was like a homegrown Italian. They don't age well most of the time. Most of them look pretty bad when they get older. So we'll see how it looks. But I'd say Mafia 2 is the best one I've played. I don't think 3 will beat it for me, just because it's not. Even if I went into 3 not knowing anything about the game, it's not set in the right time period for me. I love the time period of 2.
Mafia 3 is not a game that is like Mafia 2 in any way, shape, or form. It's like night and day. It's still a fun game.
Isn't it more GTA almost?
You know, it probably has more of a GTA-like feel in certain places, but I would not say it's a GTA-like game. So,
but it's nothing like 2.
It's probably more like it than it is part 2 in some ways, yeah. So
that's interesting.
But there's also, I mean, the story is there and it's neat and it's interesting, but it's nowhere near as engrossing as part 2, nor does it even feel as relevant as part 2. So
yeah, because after playing 2, like I want to play it again. Like I
suggest that you play part 3.
Vito better give me some answers about Joe. He better have torn down the mob after what happened to Joe. I'm just saying, if Vito does, because Vito goes crazy over everything else in that damn game. He loses his mind, gets angry about his dad, kills everybody.
I say we hold off on talking about some of these things till you've done with part 3, because there's some great things we could talk about in relation to these questions.
Oh, you're killing me. I gotta start it now. All right, guys, I gotta go. I gotta play this. I gotta go play this now.
We're only 30 minutes into the cast.
Well, you know, it's gotta be short. I got a game to play.
You're gonna stay put. Yeah, we're gonna find another topic. Is what we're gonna do.
The new Walking Dead season comes out December 20th.
Oh Jesus, we can't talk about that.
Why?
You said the Walking. Oh, you're talking about the game.
The game.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to talk about the show. I can't talk about the show here.
Oh my God.
I'm censored here.
But yeah, it's coming out. Yeah, I think December. Yeah.
December 20th. Just in time for Christmas. You can You can play the very first episode and just disturb your family, or realize that you're not coming out on Christmas because you're stuck in your room crying and weeping over the fact that Clementine's turning into a grown-up. I'm not ready to see her grow up. I
Well, you
don't
better get ready. You only
I
got
don't
like
I'm
less
gonna
than a
need
month.
like a time lapse of like seeing her go from like little kid to young adult. Like I need to know what happened in the in between.
I don't need that. I don't need that at all.
That's a girl you raised.
I didn't raise her.
Um, Lee, are you there? Are you there, Lee? Where has your soul gone?
I'm just saying that, I don't need to see everything that happens between point A and point B. We can start off somewhere new, and then we can pick up the puzzle pieces as we go along.
Well, we now know who here in this relationship has the parental instincts. It would be me, because I care about where my child has been in all that
Yeah,
time.
unless we're playing Wolf Quest.
Well, I
So,
care about my kids.
yeah, you care about your kids, all right.
I drowned them on accident.
You
It was a
definitely were
glitch
upset.
that they
You
have
definitely
fixed.
were upset when you drowned your kids. So yeah.
It was an accident, and I didn't mean it. Because I remember finishing the first season, and when you have to, yeah, I'm gonna ruin it. When you have to like impart those words on her as you're dying, and like give her all that advice,
Mm-hmm.
I was hysterical.
Yeah,
Like
it's a very sad scene.
I was crying through like the last 30 minutes of the game. I couldn't stop crying. I didn't know what to say to her. I didn't know what to do. I was so upset. I mean, none of the future seasons ever did that to me the way that did. But I was so upset. And ever since then, I've just been really attached to her. But she got like substantially more badass. Like the jump from season 1 to season 2 was insane. Like they needed to let you know how badass she was. They're like, yeah, she's gonna stitch up her own fucking arm and you're gonna help her. You ready for this shit? We're about to get hardcore, guys. And I wasn't ready for how hardcore she was. But I'm excited to see what we do now because I think we're playing two stories taking place in the same universe, the same time. Like we're switching back and forth.
I'm not sure. I do know that with Walking Dead is probably the best of the Telltale games I've played. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with part 3.
I would agree it's the best. I'd say the only thing that comes close for me was oh God, The Wolf Among Us.
I haven't even started that yet.
Yeah, that's the only one that comes close to me because I know Life is Strange isn't considered one of those, even though it's like the same exact kind of game.
It's not a Telltale game.
Yeah,
So.
but because Life is Strange would be up there too, but but The Wolf Among Us was also really good. I couldn't put Batman up there because Batman just disappoints me a little bit sometimes.
Sounds like they're getting progressively worse.
I wasn't upset with the series until this past episode because it was the first time I felt like my choices were being made against my will. Like I felt like I wasn't actually making choices anymore.
Well, that's every Telltale game. I mean,
Oh,
that's...
okay, but I took comfort in feeling like it made a difference. Okay, but this was like I was really uncomfortable with how things went down in a certain situation. I mean, because I don't know if you ever plan on playing it, but like things just went sideways in this thing that was going on, and it just everything I wanted to do just didn't work out properly. But apparently, in the new episode from the brief review I read, because it didn't spoil anything, in the new episode, I guess they just introduced like a bajillion new people, which they don't really need to do. We're supposed to be like rounding out to the end of the story now. But they're introducing like a fuck ton more characters, and things are kind of spiraling. Maybe they'll do a Batman season 2, though. Maybe that's what they want. I don't know.
I think my biggest issue with those games is that there's no choice. It's just an illusion of choice. So, like, even with Walking Dead, I can't remember what season. I think it was season 2. I remember we came to this point where we had to choose whether or not to go over a bridge. And I chose in that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something that I don't think a lot of people would do. And I remember picking that option. And then everybody around me said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this. And I was like, oh, I see. And it was just kind of like that eye-opening moment where I was sort of like, okay, I don't actually make choices in this game. They just give you the illusion of choice. And it was the same thing with Game of Thrones. Even though I haven't finished it yet, but there's that scene when you're in the jail and you're visiting what's his name, Tyrion, or who am I thinking of?
You talking about the little guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Tyrion.
Yeah, but apparently no matter what you do in that scene, you can never fool him.
Well,
No
he
matter what
can't
you
be
do.
fooled.
That's not true, though. I mean, anybody can be fooled, but my issue there is that if you're going to have something there and there's no way to win the test, then it's a rigged game, and that's not actually choice. It's not actually a branching path. It's just, hey, you're going to experience the exact same linear storyline that we want you to experience. It's just that you can make these little tiny choices that aren't really choices to get there. And so I've been kind of put off by Telltale as of late. But, I my whole thing is I miss those books. When I was a kid, I always went for those choose your own adventure books. Because you'd go in there and you'd make a choice and you would go off the beaten path and you would go talk to someone who read the same book and they had a completely different adventure. I was hoping Telltale. I don't see why Telltale can't do that. Now, if they put more money behind these games, they could, but they just pump them out, and it's very obvious when you see they've done. They did the 2 Walking Dead games. Now they've got a Batman game. They had the Game of Thrones game. They had the Wolf Among Us game, and I'm pretty sure every single one of these games has that same setup where it's not choice. It's just here's 2 choices, pick one, and then watch us show you what we want to happen. And to me, that I'm waiting for some company to come up with this genius idea to actually bring a choose your own adventure style game out there, because they don't have to be long. They could only be like 5 hours long, just like a Telltale series or whatever.
True.
But
They would also have to all those choices though would have to be severely limited because the more branching off you do, the harder that game is to make.
That's what I'm saying. The actual game could be like 40, 50, 60 hours like an actual, game, but you would only experience about 4 hours of it. That's what I'm saying. And
So that it has that replay value, so you could go on different journeys, could kind of put yourself in different shoes.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I'm saying if Telltale, instead of creating all of these games, created one game like that, it would be phenomenally better, and it would just blow the socks off of everything else they ever. Like imagine a Walking Dead game where you actually had all those choices, because it would be just as long as the Walking Dead game you've played. Only difference is you could play it again and again and probably play 2 or 3 different games in one. That would be an actual.
That would be pretty
choice.
Cool. That would.
I know.
I mean,
but
because
they're not going to do it.
I do like that we get the little like. I like that through all 3 seasons of the Walking Dead game, things that you said and did in the first one, as long as you're still on the same system and stuff, it resonates with her through the second and third games. But I get the feeling after like listening to you and like thinking about the stuff I said, that no matter what I had said, the way she thinks about it later would have probably been the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because they're always guaranteed to have certain characters in certain scenes.
Right.
So even like when I think they did like a flashback scene in season 2 or season 1, I can't remember. I think it was season 2. They were having a flashback to season 1. And if you go back and watch that scene, they play it very safe. I mean, yeah, there are some things that might be slightly different, but they're not so different that they couldn't have been done in 5 minutes of coding. So, I mean, Mass Effect or something like that has, choices that are somewhat branching, but they still keep the linear path. They still keep that linear path, but then again, they're like 60 hours or so. Whereas Telltale games, you have 4 or 5 hours in a game.
You figure you have 5 episodes, each episode is roughly 2 to 3 hours long.
Right.
Yeah.
But even if they shortened that down to 4 episodes, and then they had like an 8-hour game. Even then, and even if I'm not even saying that every choice has to be like that. They can keep some of the choices where there aren't really choices or they're stupid things like who do you want to live, and then that character dies like 5 minutes later, so it doesn't matter. But then have that mixed in with things that do matter. Like say at the very beginning of the game, you choose who your companion is. So it might be this guy or it might be this lady. And regardless of who you pick, you've got somebody different with you throughout it. Sort of like the Ashley Caden choice, whereas even though they're very similar storylines,
Mm-hmm.
there's that bit of different dialogue, and there's some branching things that are somewhat different too. So just an idea, just throwing it out there. They're not going to do it though because they make their money off these games and they churn them out so quickly.
No, because
Because
people eat them up.
exactly.
I mean, I do too. Like I'm on it immediately.
But what
But
I'm seeing is people are seeing through that to an extent, and they're wanting the choice. They want control, and that's why I think the quality is dipping. So make of it what you will.
maybe we'll see more in season 3.
You mean more choice?
Maybe.
No, we won't.
Oh my God, that was
We
like
won't.
so absolute the way you just said that. You're just
Why,
like, no.
why would they? Why would they do that? Like, there's no point in doing that. They're already
Maybe they were
guaranteed sales.
listening.
No, when they're guaranteed sales, and when the other two are so critically acclaimed, and I have a feeling that most people probably don't notice these things because most people make the same choices. Most, like 80, 90% of people, like at the very end of that screen, sometimes you'll see 90% of people chose to do this. And I'm like, yeah, I was in the 10% that chose not to do that, but I still had to do it. And so those 90% of people are like, yeah, this game has a lot of great choice. And I'm like, no, this game is kind of bullshit. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, they are fun games, but they're digital novels, they're visual novels, and that's fine. It's just I would rather have a choose your own adventure novel where I actually feel like I have some control over the narrative.
Right, otherwise, like, there's that argument of, is this even really a game anymore?
Well, I think it is a game. So don't misunderstand me. I do think it's a game. I think Gone Home is a game. I think that these I know people kind of call them walking simulators or whatever, but I enjoy them when I want to relax and I don't have to
Gone
think too
Home
much.
did not feel like a walking simulator at all.
Well, I'm just letting you know what people call them
People are
because
crazy.
well, I'm just letting you
Woo.
know. But I would consider it a game. I consider the Telltale games to be games. I consider all of them to be games. But the thing is, they aren't choice-based games. They're not.
Mm-hmm.
They're very narrative-driven because the narrative is set in stone. You're just along for the ride. It's like it's sort of like watching a movie, except
It's
you can't.
linear, trying to make us feel like it's not.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not even the cool kind. Like, what's the name of that Ellen Page game that I always forget the name of? Beyond Two Souls.
Yes.
Now that game actually has choices that you make without realizing it, and that's one of the great things about that game.
It's bad. Yeah. But I think Quantic Dream as they've made games, has done a really good job of doing that, even from the very beginning, and they've just gotten better at it.
Exactly.
Their first game, they were already doing that. Like, all your choices were very intense. Like, you knew your choices meant something from the beginning.
Here's an example. Like, there's that scene where if you have the girl escape the place and go out and then hit the bar.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
she
she
goes
gets
to
attacked
party.
by guys.
Yeah.
Well, if she does that later on in the story, she has trouble in her relationship because
Yep.
she has trouble getting close to him. Whereas if that never happened, she doesn't have that issue. So it's kind of like these branching butterfly effect type things that it's weird because you don't really even notice it when it's happening, and so you'll be having a conversation just assuming everybody experienced that, and then you find out somebody did not get out of the place, they never escaped. Whereas I was thinking if I got caught, I would probably have to restart, the level or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But no, that it just keeps going and going and going, and so it's a very different experience than a Telltale game that just shoves the narrative down your throat and says this is the way it is, deal with it.
No, they've gotten because when I streamed that game when the remastered one came out, just kind of played it the way I wanted to, did how I wanted to play it, and then I played it a second time, and one of the viewers actually saved all the choices, and I was like, let's just do the opposite. Let's see if there's actually a change here, and it was night and day. It was two different games. And I was like, because my ending was completely different. Because the endings in that game, there's 9 different endings to that game. There are 9 different endings to Beyond Two Souls, and I haven't even experienced all of them. Like it's crazy, but like I had the one where you had to sneak out, like you were dressed like a punk rock kid, like you were all angsty and angry, wearing way too much makeup. But then my second playthrough, I was like, just average teenager, jeans and a t-shirt, hanging out. I had long hair, just chilling in my room, wanted to hang out with some friends, and I didn't go, just stayed there.
So your character looked different?
Oh, completely different. She wasn't dressed all angsty and pissed, and that was based on choices I made when she was even younger.
I wonder if that has something to do with like the guitar. Like when she picks up the guitar and she kind of strums it.
I don't think so, because I played it either way, because I just figured it's something a kid would do, is fuck around with a guitar.
Well, that's pretty cool how her style changes.
Yeah, it was very different.
I didn't even know that. I just figured she always looked like the punk rocker.
That's what I did. I thought that was just like, the angsty teen phase that they were depicting.
So yeah, there's whole things I haven't even seen in the game. And so that's an example of doing it in an awesome way. There are other games that are like that too, like when they did Heavy Rain. Like I found out about some endings to Heavy Rain that I was like just shocked by, because I was like, oh my god, really? Like the people who okay, before we go into this, spoiler alert in case I do spoil something about Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain is a great narrative game. You should go play it. If you haven't played it, stop listening to us, because I'm pretty sure I'm about to spoil something.
Oh, it keeps you on your toes. It's so good. It's so good.
But the thing about it is there are people who don't even find out who the killer is. And like their ending is kind of mysterious, and like they don't get the kid back, they don't find out who the killer is, or they might lose one of the characters, they might die earlier on in the narrative, and so they're completely locked off from these whole parts of the story. And it's weird to me that that's an ending that someone might have had, and
that
then
seems
yes,
odd.
they did have. I know. But like I went on YouTube to watch some just because I didn't really know if I believed it or not, and some of them are really depressing.
See, I've only gotten, I think, 2 different endings in that game, because I played the game when it first came out, and then played it again when it was remastered, because I had so much time in between. I was like, oh, I can do this. First time I ever played it, I was able to get to the kid in time, but I had drank the poison. Because I don't know why, I just did. I drank the poison, and I got to the kid, and I was able to get the kid out and bring him out, but then I was just brutally murdered by the police. The police killed me. I was dead. Just like that.
Can I tell you something really cool about that game? That when I first realized that this game was going to be very difficult, it was when you go to the police station and you're the dad and they ask you to describe your kid, what was he wearing, and I was sitting here like,
oh my god,
I wasn't really paying attention to that. They're like, yeah, what was he wearing? Like, and you're like, and it gives you options, but you know that one of them isn't going to be right, or to a couple of them.
And I like how some of them are frantic and shaky, and they start to like fade out and in, and you're like, oh shit, which answer's the right answer?
Yeah, the longer you take, the more it starts becoming like that. And then you're like, oh, I got to say something. And you might end up telling them the wrong information, which could slow down the investigation or turn up a wrong lead. And that game is just great. And so every game they touch, that's why I can't wait for Detroit to come out. It deals with AI, which is one of my favorite things in sci-fi. And so you combine that with Quantic Dream, I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do, because, I mean, they're known for taking their time. There's like spans and there's long amounts of time between games for them, because they've only got like 3 major games out.
Yeah.
And that's taken them years to do that. But I mean, it just goes to show, like, if you just take your time on your games, you're gonna make gold, because all 3 of those games, even Indigo Prophecy, to me, like, if you're a fan of those 2 games and you do want to go back and play their first one, I still think it holds value. Just to see where they came from, to see where they started, because even with that, they still were doing an amazing job then, and they've just gotten better and better with each game. And those games, like, you know your choices matter. Everything you do changes everything else going forward, and it's insane. And Beyond Two Souls was the first one they did that you could play it 2-player.
Well, yeah, it had.
But it's like, the only times you could is when you could control Aiden at the same time as the girl. So it wasn't like actual two players. Just like, hi, do you want to pick up a controller and be my little floaty beam thing for a little while? You
The other
can.
thing they do is they don't do sequels, so everything they do is always going to be
Mm-mm.
original, is always going to be something new, and I like that a lot. Also, I heard, I don't know if this is true or not. It
Huh?
might just have been a rumor, but what I heard was that they had approached Microsoft with the idea of Heavy Rain, and Microsoft turned it down because they didn't think anybody would enjoy it.
Yes, they
And
did.
so then they
That
took
is
it to
true.
Sony, and Sony was like, "Yes, we want it on the PS3. Let's do this." And it became an exclusive to PS3. In fact, it's so weird to me because Heavy Rain was the reason I saved up to get a PS3.
Absolutely, me too. That's the only reason I got one is because Heavy Rain was coming out, and I'm like, Quantic Dream has a new game. I have to get it. So I saved. I got the PS3 for the same reason.
And so now Sony's kind of a staple because you've got to have those Quantic Dream games, and
Yeah,
it's
because I
just the
think
way
all their
that's.
games currently are exclusive to the PlayStation.
Well, yeah, because Sony believed in them.
Well, except for Indigo Prophecy. Indigo
Well,
Prophecy you
yeah,
can get on everything. Yep.
Xbox, and you can get it on PC and all that good stuff.
Yeah, but Microsoft lost out on that.
Microsoft just got kind of dumb, you know. They kept the exclusive they wanted. They let BioWare slip through their fingers. They let Heavy Rain go. So I mean, you know, they just didn't care about that type of audience, and Sony was willing to pick it up. So that really kind of screwed up Microsoft because before that, I had no interest in getting a PS3. But when I saw
I
that
didn't
Heavy
really
Rain,
either.
so yeah, I went with Microsoft because I had played the original Xbox, and I was a huge BioWare fan, and I knew Mass Effect was going to be on the 360, so that's why I went with the 360. So yeah,
I don't
the
know
rest
why
is
I had
history.
a 360 first. I can't remember. There had to be something that came out that I wanted
Probably
that
Gears
made
of
me.
War.
Yeah, there we go. That makes sense. That's perfect. Yeah, but I don't know. I think Quantic Dream makes great games, and if you're looking for games that give you actual choice and that you feel the weight of those decisions, and you know that there were things that you did, decisions you made, and you know that your story is going to be unique to everybody else. Those are the ones you want to do, and you can replay them. They're totally replayable. Like if you take time away from them and come back, I mean, because you know some stuff, you will make different choices and
Hmm.
it'll be a completely different game. Cause you'll be like, oh, I'm hip to the game now. Like, I know what's up. But then you don't because the game changes accordingly. And you're just like, oh, fuck. Now I'm in a new situation. Because there's parts of the game that, like you said earlier, that some people never even go through. And you're like, what? How did you not have that scene happen? What? Why didn't you have to go there? Why didn't you do that? Because I know with the FBI agent, there's people that never go to the what is it, like that car crushing place where the big black guy is. There's people that never go through that scene,
Yeah,
and that's insane to me because I always went through that scene, and
there are people who die
I'm like,
there.
what?
So.
Which is insane. And there's also people that die as him at the very end too. Like if you choose
Hmm.
to let the killer go, he ends up like fighting. They fight each other, and he can die there too. Norman Jaden can die constantly though. Like I feel like he's always in the most danger, mostly from himself. Because I never, what frustrated me about that game is they never explain that shit that he takes, the trypticane or
Well,
whatever.
yeah.
Like I know it has to do with like his cool FBI shit, but I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I was like always torn. Like, do I let him keep having it, or do I take it away?
Well, I mean, I think that was kind of just one of those moral dilemmas that they wanted you to go through was the fact that he could become more and more addicted to this stuff. But if he doesn't take it, he's going to have a much harder time solving the case. So,
When I don't know if you struggled with it. The scene where like you're kind of at the end and like Jaden's trying to put it together, and like you end up like sitting in the office going through all your files.
yeah.
And as you're going through the files, you notice like his nose start to bleed and stuff, and like the area around your um around your desk starts to get like a little crazy, and you're like, shit, I gotta hurry, I'm gonna die in here. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
die trying to find evidence. Like I don't have time to find evidence. I gotta figure this shit out. Like I was panicking the entire time, and I remember the first time I played, I didn't even bother looking for evidence. I was like, I don't want to die. I was like, I'm gonna die if I stay here. Nope, not doing it. I'll figure it out some other way. I think the
Did,
first time I tried to convince myself that it was like the chief of police that was the murderer. I was like, it's him.
Yeah,
But
if I'm not mistaken, I think I spent a little too long in there because I think at the very, very, very end, he went crazy in my game. Like he had like the little tanks or something on his desk to
I
kill him.
got that the first time too.
Yeah.
Like, because then I
So
had like that little butler being like, "Don't spend too much time, Norman," and I'm like, "What? What did I do?" And then I had these little tanks just all over me, and then that was that. Now that I have one more question, and then we can walk away from this. Did you let the killer go, or did you kill him?
I'm pretty sure that I killed him,
Wow,
but I
I
can't remember. Like it's been so long.
I
It's been
didn't.
so long.
I didn't have the heart to do it.
Why not?
I think I got really torn because I played as that character.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. Like he was actually my favorite
I
character in the
loved
entire
him
game.
through the
Yeah.
whole game, and like I never put it together because there was a good chunk of time where like I kind of really did think it was Ethan, and
I think a
I'm
lot of people did.
and I
A
was
lot of-
like, well, because Ethan's insane. Like there's no thing, he's just insane. And then like for half a second, like I really believed it was like the police chief captain or whatever the fuck. I was like, no, that doesn't make. He's just an asshole. I don't like. I just don't like him. But like you play as this guy for so long, and then you find out that it's him the entire time. I
Mhm.
couldn't do it. And then once like I heard, cause like in my ending, he was like reasoning with Ethan, like talking to him about it, like what he was doing this for, what he wanted. He just wanted to actually see someone be saved. I mean, which is so selfish. It's like
Yes.
the most selfish thing on earth. But I still felt bad. So I was like, all right, you can go. Because I figured, like, the police were going to be all over the place. They'd find him. Like, they were going to get him. Which didn't happen for me. Like, Norman had to throw him into a meat grinder in my game. I don't know how Norman explains that to the FBI. But, hey, where'd the murderer go? Oh, he's chopped up. Took care of it. But I didn't know if you killed him or not. I was curious to see
I think I did.
what
It's
route
been
you took
so
with that.
long that I have no idea, but I think that I did kill him. Yeah.
Damn.
It wasn't necessarily easy for me. I mean, I told you he was my favorite character, but you got to make the tough choices.
Now I want to play it again. That's a good game.
Yeah, it was a good one. Of course, all their games usually you play as multiple characters, so that's kind of a
Except,
staple.
oh no, Indigo you play as like 3 different people. You play as
Yeah,
Carla, Tyler,
yeah, that's what I'm
and the
saying.
main
You play
guy.
as
Yeah,
multiple people in all of them.
yeah, yeah. They make the characters more complex each game. They've gotten
Yeah,
better in Beyond Two Souls. No, you don't play as multiple characters
yeah,
in
you
that.
do. You play two.
Oh well, I guess. I
Mm-hmm.
mean that could be argued.
Not really. I mean, it's very evident you play
Oh,
two people. So there you go.
well, they're two souls combined together.
Oh, they're two different people.
I guess. Yeah, that works.
Maybe that works. I mean, it's true.
We've got like 15 minutes left. Do you have anything
We
else?
got more than that. What are you talking
It's
about?
been an hour. Oh, we got 20 minutes
Oh,
left. Yeah,
okay.
it's been an hour. I didn't realize it had been an hour until I looked at it.
Well, we gotta find something. So what do you got in the chest of
In my chest of games, um,
or
I've
anything
got
really at this point?
I found an interesting factoid. I no longer have the article because I've had it on here for a little bit. But the Murdered Soul Suspect game, which I can get now because my Xbox Live is back.
Yeah.
This is very exciting. Murdered Soul Suspect is free on Xbox Live right now. On the Xbox
Mm-hmm.
One, or is it like across all Xbox 360 too? I don't know if they do different games.
Xbox One, as far as I know. I don't know.
Okay, I just don't know if it's different. I mean, why would it be? It came out for the One, so okay. Anyway, but you can get that for the Xbox One right now. And as some of you know, I'm from Massachusetts, and it takes place in Salem. And well, no, the cool thing about it is that I guess the game draws heavily on like the actual history of the town and stuff
Mm-hmm.
that happened there. So it makes me it makes me a little bit more curious to play it to see what's going on in there. I like it when games take from reality and actually like use stuff that happened. I want to know how it plays into it. Probably gonna be dealing with lots of witches, which I'm totally okay with. Like I'm cool with that. What else? What else do I have here? You didn't have a response to that. I gotta find something else.
Well, I haven't played the game, so I don't. All I
Neither
know
have
about
I.
it is
I just thought it was
apparently
cool.
they have a detective who worked on it and helped as an advisor to the game.
See,
So,
that's cool. That's stuff I didn't know.
well, that's all I remember.
I'm happy for you. You just brought new stuff to the table.
Yay!
See, this is good. Oh, I did have something from this has been on there since the premiere of the new season of The Walking Dead.
Okay.
And I know we can't talk about it
Right.
because you won't watch it till next year. Which is fine. But this was something that I put on there because I thought it was insane. So you've watched every season of The Walking Dead up until the new one, correct?
Yeah.
You know what kind of show it is.
Sure.
Would you say it is a violent show?
Yeah, I would say it's a violent show.
Okay, we could agree that it is gory and bloody and
I think that is
pretty
that's
bad.
A fair
It seems accurate. So in the premiere, it was kind of known that somebody was going to die. As you knew from the finale, they make it very clear someone's not making it out. Someone's going bye-bye. They show it in graphic detail, as is the Walking Dead way. And the Parent TV Association lost their fucking minds over the new season. They said that it needed to be taken off of television. It should be on HBO and not on AMC, and that their children should not be subjected to having to see such violence on their television screens. And I was baffled by this because, first of all, you had to sit and watch it to develop this opinion. Second of all, why are your kids up at 9 p.m. on a Sunday? And you have to monitor your child's TV time, so why are you letting them watch it in the first place if you are so concerned? Granted, I've been letting kids in my house watch it since they were 4, but I thought it was crazy. Like, they want it gone now just because of how violent they saw the premiere as, and I don't even think that was the most violent thing we've ever seen in the show.
Well, I mean, there's always moral outrage and moral panic over everything, whether it be Dungeons and Dragons on tabletop, even Super Nintendo. When Super Nintendo first came out, they complained about how realistic it looked, and they were worried how Super Nintendo was going to make people go out and become killers. So yeah, I mean, this kind of thing happens all the time. It's just people reacting to whatever the latest thing is, and right now it's Walking Dead, I guess, because it's probably the most violent show they can think of. But I mean, there are a lot of shows that are for adults.
I mean, and
so,
I would say that it is one of them.
And I think AMC that also had Mad Men, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, AMC had Mad Men, Breaking Bad, Into the Badlands.
And none of which is made for small children.
No, none of those.
Very adult content is on AMC. So, I mean, it's not like they're putting it on CBS. I mean,
no, and AMC doesn't even do any kind of kid programming.
Right.
There's nothing on there for children. And like it's a show that's on late night, on a school night. Why would your kids be up? And it baffles me that these people take the time to sit through it and watch it and go through it. And they're it's just too much. It's too violent.
It reminds me of when Hillary Clinton was going after video games with Joe Lieberman. And they wanted to reduce the sales by treating it like it was buying, how did they put it?
Like drugs or cigarettes?
Yeah, basically. They wanted
Are you serious?
Yeah, that was way back back when I was in college, I guess. But I recall reading about all that shit, and I was just like, "Are you out of your fucking mind?" but yeah, that happened. So yeah, I mean, this type of thing it's even going on now. Now they're claiming video games are too sexist in their, portrayals and such. But
I'm sorry. How do we figure?
I don't know. I don't know, but
I
apparently
just
they are.
want because currently, because first of all, I want to go talk to these people who were complaining about the Super Nintendo and like bring it up to them now and be like, "Hi, I just have some questions for you. If you have 5 minutes to just entertain me with your current thoughts on the Super Nintendo and if you still think it's too realistic." Just want to know how you're feeling about this. Those people must feel so dumb. Like, how stupid do you feel? But then again, I feel like the people that do this don't sit and think about what they're doing before they do it.
I mean, there's some great videos out there. I guess it was 2020 or something like that. I think it had Barbara Walters and John Stossel, or because I think it was John Stossel who was doing this report way back in the 80s or 90s, actually 90s.
Hmm.
It could have been the 80s because I think this was about the original Nintendo, and they went out to find out, why kids are going so crazy over the Nintendo. And I'll never forget it. And you can go watch it on YouTube. But it's the funniest thing because at the end, when they bring John Stossel back to get his impressions on the youth and whether they're getting too much into video games and such, you know what John Stossel says at the very end? He goes, well, during the making of the report, me and my wife went out and got a Nintendo, and we play it every night now. And we like
Oh
it.
my god. It's not even about the youth anymore. We bought one, we enjoy it.
Uh,
I have no opinion now. It's fine. I think
but
it's
I mean,
great.
you can put yourself in their position way back when I mean, there were video game systems before Nintendo, but none of them were like Nintendo. None of them were like Nintendo. Nintendo was on a whole other plane. And so at that time, getting one was just exciting. It was, wow, video games are really looking good for the first time in a long time. So, yeah.
Now we would be unimpressed.
Well, I think there's still an audience for. I mean, good lord, they just released that ridiculous Nintendo Classic. What do they call it? The retro Nintendo. And
Oh,
apparently,
yeah, I know what you're
apparently,
talking about.
and fucking Nintendo. Just when I was being nice to them, apparently they
Oh
released a
god.
limited supply to try and increase demand, and so now people have gotten their hands on them, and now they're reselling them at even higher numbers. And I'm like, if you're an idiot, if you're dumb enough to go out and buy one of these things that you can only play 30 games on because they have to be made specifically for this, you can't play your old games on it if you didn't know, then there's no hope for you. There's no hope at all for you. So yeah, just when Nintendo was getting back in my good graces, they go and do something stupid again.
I mean,
So
it's Nintendo. They can be stupid forever and they'll be fine.
they will be stupid forever.
I mean,
Let's just
they can do whatever they want.
as long as they have Mario and Zelda and
Yeah,
they
as long as they got those IPs. They're good for the
which
rest of
yeah.
their lives, unless somebody can manage to rip it from their cold dead
Well,
hands.
I'm starting to wonder now how impactful is Mario and Zelda today compared to yesteryear. I think that there's still an audience for it because people who grew up with it are getting older, but they're still playing games. But as my generation begins to leave video games, I don't think the demand for the interest in going back to it's going to be there
Absolutely not.
because
No.
these aren't people who grew up with Mario. To give you an example, when I got my hands on Mario, like the first Super Mario Brothers, it was life changing. There,
What?
look,
I was
it was
okay.
the
I'm just
80s,
concerned for you. I just
it was
want to
the
know.
1980s, and that game was so addictive, so much fun. You have to understand, it's like you didn't have games like that. Before that, I was playing on the Atari, and I was playing these games where you had like these little two dots that were your spaceship, and you shot little bullets out to shoot things, and you only had like 2 or 3 sound effects in the entire damn game, no music, and it was always the same background. It was like a
I
black
feel like
background.
that is a form of torture in some countries.
But I mean, but you really had to use your imagination. And then you get Super Mario Brothers. The sound was amazing. The theme song was catchy and cute. The colors were vibrant. The backgrounds were just gorgeous. And it was addicting fun. Everybody was playing it, not just kids, but older people. And everybody was talking about it. If you discovered a secret, because there were so many secrets in this game, you didn't have the internet. So you'd go to church and you'd hear from somebody who was like 40 years old, and they were like, yeah, I discovered the secret in Mario, where if you jump on top of the shell a couple of times, you get like all these super lives, and you can like keep doing it infinitely. And they actually showed how to do it. And then you'd go to school, and they'd tell you about finding the place where you can go up into the clouds, and if you have to time it just right. I mean, it was an exciting time. So yeah, it was a game changer. But but what I'm getting at is that the younger people don't have that experience. They don't have that with Mario. And so Mario is going to start dying out.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
I think all of those will because I can speak for, the ages of 10 and under. They know who the people are, but they don't care.
And like Mario was on bed sheets, lunch boxes, had his own TV show. It was just everywhere. Mario
There
was
was some
just
live action movies there.
yes, a terrible live action
There's
movie
some
came
live
out.
action movie.
A terrible one. But the cartoon show, and you had like Dr. Mario, you had Mario Kart, you had Mario everything. But now I don't think Mario is going to really appeal to younger people. That's why I think Nintendo, your days are numbered. And if you keep making mistakes like this, I really hope that the Switch is something great, and I hope that it works out. But I'm right now, I'm kind of like I'm less confident about it than I was 2 weeks ago. I'm kind of like, knowing Nintendo, they're gonna fuck it up. So, so
But why
let's.
don't they try making something new?
I don't think they have new ideas
That's what
anymore.
I'm
I
saying.
I
Like,
think I
instead
think
of
Nintendo.
recycling these old ideas that, yes, made you bajillions of dollars and you were very successful with, you cannot expect to ride that wave the rest of your life. That's not how anything in life works. They
Well,
need to be coming up with something new. I mean, how hard can it be? Unless they're currently stuck in this thing where they're like, it needs to be like our other characters and they don't know how to compare it. Like, they don't know how to set it up to the standards that they're probably just building for themselves.
well, yeah. I mean, they Nintendo is always very much strict by the book. It's their way or the highway. That's why whenever they made deals with companies back in the day, they could only have so many releases of their game on Nintendo. Whereas if it was a Nintendo game made by Nintendo, then their games were infinite.
Oh yeah, I
Or
remember
when
you told me that, and I was baffled by that when you told me.
or like id Software. Before they created Doom, which was one of the most game-changing PC games ever released, the start of the first-person shooter genre. One of the things those guys did was they created a PC version of Mario because they discovered how to do it. Because back then PCs weren't really optimized for gaming, and they created a way that you could actually play that console game on a PC and actually make it look good. They sent the idea to Nintendo. Nintendo said, we don't want it. We don't want to do it. And so that's why they went off and they created a different platformer for PC that was very successful. And then they went on to create Doom. But yeah, Nintendo is always going to be this is the way we want to do it, and we're not going to listen to anybody else. And this is how it is. And they're a player, they're a horse that's been in this race way too long, and their days are already numbered. They shouldn't have been in as long as they have. I'm really surprised. It's almost like imagining if Sega was still releasing consoles right now. I mean, it's just mind blowing that Nintendo is still a player. I use quotation marks in the market.
Well, I think they're
But
just there for the sake of being there now. It's almost like they're a figurehead. Like they're just
they're like the
there.
Pope.
Right,
They're
yeah,
like
they're
the
essentially the
Queen of
pope of
England.
the gaming universe. It's just like, oh,
Yeah.
Nintendo, right, we get it, you're here, you're trying to be relevant.
But
We
all the guys that
understand.
did anything interesting, they're dying off, and what are they left with? A bunch of fanboys who are now running the company. So it's
I
just
mean, and
sad.
it just doesn't make sense. Like, how long can you recycle material? Like, you can only do so much with the worlds that you have, and I think you've run them all dry.
Yeah, it is dry. It's very dry.
Yeah, I just don't see any more coming out of that. Like, Xbox and PlayStation are just doing a million different fucking things. Nintendo's like, nope, we'll be over here in our little box. We're safe in this little box. This is where we're gonna live. This is fine. We're gonna stay in our box. We don't want to come out. We're good. But they'll fall apart soon enough.
Yeah.
I'd say they got a couple years left. I mean, they've got this new system coming out.
Yeah, and
So
this is their last big thing. If it works, they'll be in the game a little bit longer.
Jesus
And
Christ.
I wish them the best. I hope it works out. I think it's a cool idea, and I think it's neat, and I hope they price it decently, and I hope that it's a good competitive console. But knowing Nintendo, they might fuck it up. So I got to be more cautious. I can't just be excited. I've got to be cautious about Nintendo. So.
And you mentioned it earlier for a second when we were talking about this. What is this? I need to know. What is going on with sexism in games?
I don't know. That's
Oh,
apparently the new
okay.
moral. That's the new moral panic, outrage.
Well, isn't everything sexist to somebody? Like, isn't somebody thinking
Yes.
something is sexist even though it's not? Like
Well,
even though
let
in a
me
game when
put
you
it like
see
this.
something, you're like, oh, I know somebody like that, and you're like, oh, that's sexist.
Somebody's going to see something somewhere and be like, "Hey, you know what? This offends me," and I
Why does she have to be in distress? Why can't he be in distress? I don't like this. This is sexist. Well, you're in distress right now over it, so there's a reason this is happening. Jesus.
I don't know. I'm always of the mind that just the world is a very diverse place, and there are diverse ideas out there, and you're going to be offended by something. So, but I guess the question then is, just because you're offended by something, what does that really mean? I don't know.
Does it mean you have to voice your opinion on it, though?
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with voicing an opinion because that creates discourse and such. But I think the problem is whenever people start picking up pitchforks and then they think they're on a moral crusade and then they just start just getting in lines and marching and chanting things. And then before you know it, they're accomplishing things, but not necessarily setting the kind of precedent that I think is good for anybody, including themselves. So, I mean, whatever happened to discourse? Why can't we just sit down and talk? Why does everything have to be, oh, you offended me, so now you're my bitter enemy to the end, unfriending you, getting rid of you from my life.
Unfriended, blocked, no longer in my top 10 on MySpace. See you later. Not doing it against, no. Yeah,
Then,
I don't get
yeah.
it.
And yeah, so that's the world we live in. So
Well,
sorry we offended you.
every
I
game
am.
is sexist. Everything on this earth is sexist towards somebody.
I feel like that's a very sexist thing to say.
Fuck it, I'm a sexist.
I was talking to somebody about this the other day. They were talking about preferences in dating. And they were
Oh,
talking about how people had preferences or racial preferences in dating or
we're
whatnot.
not allowed to have those, Razzle. That's
I
that's
know,
racist.
I know, it's now racist. But I was just thinking about, does that apply to sex too?
Well, I mean, I guess it does.
Yeah, so there's a lot of sexists out there. I'm just going to point that out. Except for the bisexuals. I guess they got it all covered, don't they? So.
Well, they could. You know what? No, they could still play the game. They
can
could
still play the
say,
game.
you know what? Normally, I prefer women, or I
Oh, that's
prefer
right, yeah.
men. Like I tend to lean more towards dating men of this kind or
So that
women
means-
of this kind.
Yeah,
So
if
really,
they
we
if
all
they lean
suck.
toward men. If they lean toward men, then they're sexist.
They're sexist against women.
women,
There's something
yeah.
wrong with the ladies of the world.
Yeah.
If they lean towards women, what are the men doing wrong? Why don't you like them? Why
Yeah,
can't you
it's a good
like
point.
everybody?
That is
Oh,
a valid
right,
point.
because that's not normal. We can't all like everybody. That would be a very fucked up world we'd live in. If everybody liked everybody, things would just be too crazy.
As for my thoughts on this, everybody has their own preferences for everything when it comes to seeking out a romantic partner or what have you, and there's nothing wrong with that. All right, it's a good thing that people have different interests, or else we'd all be going after the same people, and then nobody would ever get together with anybody. So,
And I'll fight you.
and secondly, this doesn't really have anything to do with anybody except for the people directly involved in it. So it's kind of like, it's just ridiculous. It's like walking up to two people and say, "Oh, why did you marry that person? Why did you marry that person?" oh, you're white, but you married a white person. Now, are you like in the KKK?
Do you not like black people?
You know,
Do you?
and I just now I'm just throwing that out there. But I don't really give a shit who people are into, what they're into. I think it's a good thing to put that out up front and be like, yeah, I'm not really interested in this type of person romantically, because otherwise, if you don't, if you're not upfront about it, then you're just leading people on, aren't you? It's never going to work out.
No, but I've actually come into contact with that, like in the dating world, where like I've had to tell people like, sorry, I'm just not attracted to you, and this is why, and I've been made to immediately feel like a racist, and I've been called a racist like outright.
Let me give you an example. Like, okay, I as a white guy, if I'm only into black guys, all right, let's say that. If I was only into black guys, would that make me racist, or would it make me like a self-deprecating racist?
See, like instantly my brain was like the way I would see it is self-deprecating. Like, well, yeah, I think that's what would be seen, or like people would be like giving you like a pat on the shoulder, good for you.
That would just be weird.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, good for
That
you.
would
You
be
only date the
weird.
black men. Congratulations. Like, I don't know. I feel like it would be regarded strangely because that's just how people are.
Or would I be accused of like what's like cultural appropriation or whatever it is?
Probably. We live in
I'd
that
probably be
time.
yeah, I'd probably be accused of that.
I just know that I've had to tell people on far more than one occasion, like, I'm not into you. And yeah, it's been a race thing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just not attracted to you. Because generally I'm not. There are rare exceptions to the rule.
Well, that's a good point. Like, and that's something I was going to bring up was that there are always exceptions. Like, you
Yeah.
might say, I don't have a like, here's my preference, but then you meet somebody who doesn't meet your preference, and then you fall in love and you get together. Again,
Right.
that's nobody's business but the person. So the person might say, you know what, I don't date black guys, and then they meet this black guy who's wonderful, and they fall in love, and they go off and they get married, and they have thousands of children, and they go out on all
Then
these humanitarian aid projects together, and that
that's
happens.
aggressive. That's quite the
I
life
mean,
you've
that
created
happens
there.
all the time.
I was just saying maybe they met Shamar Moore and they changed their mind because I'd change my
No,
mind. I would change my
listen,
mind.
Shemar Moore is
That's
is
an
on a whole
exception
other,
to the rule. I'm gonna
a
tell
whole
you
other
right
level.
now. It's an exception
That's
to all the rules.
a
If there
whole
were
other
rules, they're gone.
Shemar Moore.
See?
If you're listening, I'm only into Shemar Moore.
If you would like to know my type, it is you.
My type.
Hello? Are you
Shemar.
there? Are you listening?
Hello, Shemar Moore. You can tackle me in the grass anytime you wish, just like I'm a criminal on Criminal Minds.
If you need somebody to arrest, I will give you my address. I'll be here. I will resist.
But I didn't really have anything to say there. But since you brought it up, like we were just talking about that stuff, so yeah, that's just food to our thought to what's the
That's
word?
a nice
Food
area
to
to
think.
stop. We're gonna just stop on this interesting racism and pleading to Shamar Moore. This is,
Listen, it's just thoughts.
we're grown-ups. I just want you to know we're grown-ups.
Have some discourse.
And I don't know if we're racist or sexist. I don't
think we're
know.
both.
I think we're both. It's
I think we're both.
pretty safe to say we are not known for being politically correct.
No, all of the strictly straight people out there are pretty homophobic. So,
I would say you're pretty homophobic.
and I'm just I'm just saying that that's something they need to deal with. So,
You need to deal with your preferences. Your preferences being Shamar Moore. It seems like you're going through a personal battle over there. I think you're projecting a little bit.
probably.
Stop projecting on the rest of us. Not all of us are sexist and racist. Well, that's a place to stop.
We got episode 40 coming up next week.
Am
So,
I comfortable with this? Is 40 a good number? Like, are people happy when they turn 40?
yeah, I think they're just happy that they made it.
You think 40 is when you start saying, "Wow, bless me," and then once you hit 50, you're like, "Why am I still here?"
No, I think the longer you go, the more happy you are because you're just like, I'm still here.
You give a fuck a little less
And then you
every
become
year.
like one of those really old people that are like, you know what, now I can just be a bastard to everybody and nobody can hate me for it. So it's kind of like, I think the older you get, the more of a free license you have to just be a total dick to everybody.
Well, it's nice to know my freedoms will be granted to me as I get older. I can be free the older I get. I'm excited for this. Well, Jesus, we have to stop there. This is too much. Things
Only
are
if you want to.
We're spiraling out of control.
Well, we can keep going for 3 hours. I got plenty of tea over here.
I mean, we can't. I gotta eat something eventually.
Oh my God.
How long do you think I can do this?
5 hours?
That's best reserved for a live podcast where there's actually like a plan.
Are we doing that for episode 40? What are we doing?
A live one? We can't plan this right now here. Anyway, you guys can email us at theprattlecast@gmail.com. You can leave us a message at speakpipe.com/theprattlecast. Everything's uploaded on YouTube. Our Twitter handle is what you would expect it to be. And our personal ones are at Razzle_Dazzles, which he chose to use in the intro this week, which he should never do again. And mine is at Shakezilla TV. We stream together every Friday and or Saturday. Working on like an alternating thing right now at like. Okay, see, this is weird now. If we do switch between Fridays and Saturdays, it's like 3 p.m., 5 p.m., 3 p.m., 5 p.m. So like on Saturdays, it would be 3 p.m. and Fridays 5 p.m.
It depends on where you live. You're talking about 3 p.m.
Mountain time.
Yeah.
All right,
Nobody
people.
goes by mountain time. So you need to start saying Eastern time. That's
okay.
Where the people...
5 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Saturdays and Fridays. It's awkward. You guys will figure it out eventually. Currently, we're not playing anything. What are we doing with our lives? I can't even tell you what we're playing next week because I don't know. Today we're playing the Isle, but you won't know that until we're done. So that must be nice for you to hear. Wow, this is going really well for me this week. Well, you guys know that something's going to happen eventually. We'll have games to play. We'll be here. Be nice to each other.